Okay, we are back. I'm very excited to have on the Goldstein on Gelt show Kelly Hoey, who is the author of a book called Build Your Dream Network. She's also all over social media and all over the media as well, everywhere, so you've probably seen her there. And when I suggested to my producer to bring her onto the show, he says, yeah, Doug, networking, this is like a personal finance show. Why would you bring her on? So, Kelly, help me out here. Why would I bring someone who's like a networking goddess onto a personal finance show?
Well, that's a good question. Probably because you'll likely find
That I need to fill 10 minutes? No, I'm kidding.
You needed 10 minutes and you thought, why not? You know what? You're probably going to find your personal finance expert. You're going to find your wealth management expert. I'm very involved with the startup community in New York City. It is how I find investment opportunities, and it's how I chose the two venture firms where I'm a limited partner. It was because of networks and personal relationships and the trust that is built in that. And, who are you going to trust with your money? Maybe someone you know and like, but someone you get to know and someone whose values, and you can only find that out through networking.
You know what's so critical about what you're saying, and I will compare you now to Warren Buffett, is that both you and Buffett talk about the importance of the people involved in a company. He doesn't, when he starts to look at a company, he's not going to look at what they necessarily do, but who the people are behind it. So how does that help you to make decisions in terms of investments?
You know that I have the biggest crush on Warren Buffett. You knew that when you asked me that question, didn't you?
I did. And I hear he's actually been following you a little bit recently on Twitter.
You know what? People are the ones who drive the economy. People are the ones who I want to say it's not apps and platforms that we're interacting with. It's human beings, decisions, values, the integrity of company, a culture of a company. That's all comes down to the people. So you can have, and I'm putting my startup investor hat back on, you can have someone who looks like they have the best solution to disrupt an industry, but if they don't have the right team, if they don't have the right team dynamic, you can just forget about it. I'll take a poorer product with a better team behind it than what appears to be, the best product with a crappy team any day of the week.
Yeah, I like that example. I remember like 20 years ago, there was a company, actually an Israeli company, that came up with, I don't want to get too technical here in terms of the science, but they had this super cool idea. They came up with an artificial intelligence that would look at pap smear slides and look at every single cell on the slide to see if there was a cancerous cell. And the reason this was such a miracle is because at the time, and I honestly don't know how it's done today, but at the time, the way that these slides would be looked at is there'd be some guy who'd sit in a lab and look at every single, look at a bunch of cells on a slide and see if he happened to spot a cancerous one. And you can imagine, obviously, the number of mistakes that a human eye would make, but the computer would do great because it could look at every cell. And I was telling my sister, who was in medical school at the time, and she said, yeah, I heard of this company. The president came and spoke at Einstein, and I thought this was the greatest thing ever. And of course, you've never heard of the company because they went out of business. And I guess not because they had a bad idea, because it was a great idea, but just because they didn't, they didn't have the people behind it to make it happen. So you've mentioned startup investing a few times. Do you think this is for normal people?
Well, listen, here's the way I look at it, because I think it's a critical component of anyone's portfolio. The reason I became a limited partner in two funds when I knew I was going to be, up to my eyeballs with writing and marketing a book, because being an author is like being a startup yourself, I knew it was a critical component of my portfolio that I needed to have there if I wanted to, one, influence the products and services that are being built and transforming in our lives, and if I was going to have the chance of outsized returns in my portfolio. I can't rely on the stock market or, a mutual fund for that. And lottery tickets aren't necessarily a very good strategy as well.
Unless you win.
Exactly. So it was like, okay, I need to be in that market and do this. So, I think people need to educate themselves on early stage. I think they need to educate on how they can have a portfolio of early stage investments, not waiting for the one ways or, I could have been early on, whatever. I think they need to see how they can do that. And I think they need to think about it in terms of, as consumers, of all these digital products and services that are out there that are improving our lives, I think we need to, as consumers, to say, right, I need to influence what gets into the market.
Here to improving our lives. We're improving our life today by talking to Kelly Hoey, who is the author of the new book, Build Your Dream Network. Kelly, I want to sort of swing back to what we started up at the beginning, which was, why is it that networking is important to learn about on a personal finance show? What values can people get from what you teach in actually helping them to improve their financial life?
Well, I sort of say to people, there's three sort of components they need, for success in their, I'm going to say, life and career. And that's building their knowledge base, building their expertise, being out there and known for something. And then I tell them that, you got to build your network, because ideas or careers without a network are, not going to go very far. We turn to people we know and trust, and we get opportunities through word of mouth. Take a startup crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a networking exercise. It's not a marketing exercise. If you don't have an existing network, your crowdfunding, I would say, effort is likely to fail. So you need that network. But the third piece of it is you need to build your bank account. The percentage of startups that get funding from outside is minuscule. So most people are doing it on their own money. Your ability to pursue the career you want, because you may need to change jobs and go into a path or profession that you really want, may require you to take a job that's going to pay less. And so you need to build that bank account. And all of those pieces coming together is what is going to make you, I want to say, successful. And, all that information flows, as well as having this strong financial foundation. That's the right footing you need to put yourself on as you go ahead.
I'm a big fan of networks, and I think I've developed big networks as well of friends and clients and family. But as you're talking about this, one of the things comes to mind, especially in terms of building wealth, is that one of the things that people have to be concerned about, and unfortunately, especially older people and retirees, are association scams, where you're in a network and there's one guy who, everyone likes, and he manages the money, and it turns out that he was the con artist. How can someone protect himself from this?
This is where I want to say having networks and using them and having diverse networks, more importantly, so that you're not, I want to say, getting your financial advice or, getting your financial counseling, getting your leads from a same group of people. Having diversity of a network of views and opinions, approaches to life, geographic, economic, so that you can do a reality and a gut check. It's also leveraging the network tools we have to verify the people you're getting advice from. Because you're absolutely right. You could say, oh, but it's my cousin. It's, oh, so-and-so says he or she's a good person. Take a step back and be able to verify them from different sources. And, the other piece on all of this is at the end of the day, you can get all sorts of great references. Oh, someone says so-and-so is a great, financial advisor to talk to, or this person says this is a good deal. You got to do your own research. You got to do your own work. You can take advantage of all the tools online to network efficiently and effectively, but until you sit down face to face and look someone in the eye, you don't know if they're friend or foe. And you got to get face to face and trust your own gut when you're meeting people.
And I think the one most important thing to keep in mind is when someone's showing you something, you have to remember the wisdom of my mother, who said, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So that's certainly, she wrote that. My mother was a financial advisor too, by the way.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so especially when people are in your network and they're like, it's a special deal for the people in my network. Really? They're going to lose money just because they like you or because they met you once at a BNI breakfast, one of these things. Listen, I think there are a lot of different ways to benefit from a network. And one of them is just the opportunity to meet people and get new opportunities. One of the best ways, of course, to build a network and to learn more about it is to read your book. Kelly, we are just about out of time, but in the last few seconds, tell me, how can people get your book and also follow you and follow your work?
Well, thank you. So the book is probably available on most book sites, from, Amazon to Walmart. Find all the information on my website, jkellyhoey.co. And the best place to find me is on Twitter, the Great Cocktail Party, as I call it. And my Twitter handle is at jkhoey.
All right, we will put links to all of that at the show notes of today's show at goldsteinongelt.com. Kelly Hoey, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Check out all of Doug's money ideas at goldsteinongelt.com. Doug specializes in helping people who live outside the United States handle their U.S. investment accounts. If you have a question that you would like answered on the air or off, contact Doug at his website or send him an email to doug@profile-financial.com.